First stream ever here on the Splash Play NBA channel, and it's a fun slate where, of course, the world of NBA, guys getting ruled out already and affect everything we do today. But, of course, same thing we're going to do we always do on Splash Play. We're going to look at all the data, the projections, the ownership data. We're also going to look at some of the my projections as well, which is something I don't do for NFL. I do for NBA, so we're going to be having that as part of our process. Simulation, we're going to do that as well from Stokastic. We're also going to hop into the simulator, build a lineup here if we have the time to do that. And the big part, 4:30 every day Eastern time, I'm going to go and load up Unabated. We're going to look at the prop markets through Unabeted's tool. So to be a different wrinkle here, Unabeted's product is one I've been really impressed by. It's getting my hands on it a few weeks ago, brokering a deal with those guys. So lots to go in here. Two of the greatest sites out there. I get to cover them both here on the new Splash Play NBA DFS channel. And of course, if you're watching this one, please make sure to subscribe. Of course, just getting this channel off the ground, so your support goes a long way right now, especially because I'm going to get no views. But shout out Steven finding me on here. Appreciate that. Let's talk about some hoops. So top projected players on the slate, and these are Stokastic's data. Actually can show you guys, and honestly, you guys can dictate a little bit of what you think is better to see right now. So that's the Stokastic data page. Here's the one that I made using a combo of my data, some key stats that we also have to use on screen. Let me know which you prefer because, again, you guys can tell me what's the best way to present things for you right now. I'll stick with the classics and just go through Stokastic first, though. We got Nikola Jokic, top protected player on the slate right now. These are DraftKings points. A pretty big value metric on him. He'd be my top protected player on the slate as well. Jokic looks pretty strong to me. Shout out I am the KY. Appreciate seeing you guys here. Miss seeing you guys with your little floating football helmets. That's really what we want to see. Man, the thumbnail, of course, could not do an NBA video without the man I named my own son after, Luka Doncic. Your number 2 projected player in the slate, a 58.2 projection for him. Not nearly as good of a value relative to the price tag of 11.3 as Nikola Jokic is. Victor Wembanyama, I have him projected a little bit lower, but Stokastic has him number 3 overall, 55.1 projection. Pretty good salary on him. Again, not as good of a value as Jokic, it looks like. And for Wembanyama as well, one thing I would point out, ball in his hands a lot less to start the year, something I'm not the most delighted to see. Chris Paul, high assist rate, not really taking up a lot of usage, but is possessing the ball a little bit more in a way that Wembanyama's play, at least analytically so far, doesn't look the best. Still, if you're carrying over the projections of 2 seasons worth of data, Wembanyama looks like one of the top players in the slate. Giannis Antetokounmpo, no Middleton again, slight projection boost, slight usage boost, all of that for Giannis today. He's got a 55.1 projection, a little bit behind Wembanyama. These guys are basically the exact same play. And Anthony Davis at number 5, he's not on the DraftKings slate tonight. He's number 5 overall. Tatum would be on the actual DraftKings slate. He'd be the true number 5 for just that one. Your top values right now, according to Stokastic, and again, we'll go through some of my data as well. Nikola Jokic, your top value, get high salary, high projection for him. Matchup against Toronto, the big concern point would really be that game does get out of hand. Denver, and let's see where are we at in terms of the spread. Denver and a 9-point favorite on the road. Honestly, it could have been worse. Everybody on Denver also projects pretty well. Jamal Murray back in Canada. Maybe that matters a little bit narratively. You also have Aaron Gordon, not a great projection on him, but Michael Porter Jr., good projection on him. He's going to be projected for about 19% ownership. Christian Brown, also a decent projection on him. Maybe he gets hot from threes. Shooting okay this year, 62% true shooting. So there's some ways Jokic maybe doesn't hit, but I would say for Jokic, and again, Toronto just getting boat raced entirely. Would be another way that Jokic doesn't hit. But for right now, if Toronto can have a little push-pull on their side, keep the game competitive, Nikola Jokic looks like a very good play with a floor and the ceiling. Larry Nance, a player that is hard to avoid sim-wise. Right before the show, I was getting my sims ready to go for the deeper dive on Stokastic. I'll be doing right after this stream. So we got Clint Capella, projected for a lot of ownership as well. But Larry Nance Jr., a 17.4 projection for me, a 19-point projection from Stokastic. He's got 24% ownership on him. Because of the 3K salary and the fact he's power forward and center eligible, makes it easy to prop into a bunch of lineups on DraftKings tonight. Probably not a player you want in your underdog battle royales. A player I'd worry about the minutes too. He hasn't played yet for Atlanta, so there's really no guarantee he comes in and takes an instant workload. But for Larry Nance, I would say right now, the 3K salary in particular, the fact he's getting minutes that Okonkwo was going to be getting, Okonkwo's out now. So Larry Nance not priced to be the backup center like it seems like he's going to be today. Similarly, Clint Capella not priced to be the starting center. He's basically been in a minute share. He's technically been the starter, but has been basically splitting minutes with Okonkwo. Okonkwo getting a little more minutes in some of the games as well to start the year. Capella now a top value, played a $5,400 salary. The pace against Washington, maybe you see him played off the floor a little bit, but should be able to grab some rebounds against a Washington team that's generally not going to be that good. Jalen Brunson, he's a top value play despite the high salary for him, $8,600. And Jeremy Sohan's number 5 here overall with the Stokastic data. Excited for the NBA content. There we go. I appreciate that. And you think you can play them both in the lineup? I would not play both in the lineup. No, I think, based on the way ownership usually goes, and this is actually how I won my biggest prize in NBA, which I'm not going to talk about every single show, but the way that I had won my 57K win or whatever it was basically Nerlens Noel was a chalk on that slate. I think it was a playoff slate as well. Nerlens Noel was a chalk on that slate. Everyone's going to play him. At that point, it was basically a pure timeshare between Noel and Taj Gibson. I just played Taj Gibson, and I also had a low-owned Jason Tatum that went off for like 60 fantasy points, that is, at under 5% ownership. So those two things what got me the win. I would say same thing normally for most slates where you have Capella, you then get leverage against him by playing the guy who's going to theoretically, if he plays well, take minutes away from him. So that would be Nance, but I think Nance is going to be decently owned, especially with these sim players tonight. Let's go to the ownership here. And I'll go through my sheet too. I just don't want to go game by game if I'm going to do it on the deeper dive with our pal Josh Engelman in a minute. And again, stay tuned until 4:30 p.m. is when the unabated projections drop. So we'll be hopping right over to that the second that that's ready to go. So fun new part of the process here, doing some prop betting. Of course, we're starting the slate, of course, with the DFS DraftKings side because I know we can get more views doing that, right? I think that's the hope here. Clint Capella, your top projected owned player, 36% from Stokastic. Jamal Murray, number 2, 35.5%. Some negative FUD for him publicly. People talking about how they think that he is not as good of a player anymore. Some anonymous player quotes, I believe, are out there talking about Jamal Murray and how easy it is to defend him. He's got that going against him. He's also got a matchup in his home country. So maybe this is a spot, too, where if he were to go off, I would think that he would be the one that would give you the most direct leverage on Nikola Jokic. The issue is that Nikola Jokic is projected for 16% ownership and Jamal Murray protected for 36. So I'd rather play Jokic, but Jamal Murray going to be chalky with that price tag. And Murray's numbers on the year, only 20% usage rate so far, 21% assist rate. He's not shooting that well, 57% true shooting rounding up. He's not playing that well right now. So Jamal Murray, I think, a relatively easy fade theoretically. Bilal Coulibaly projected for number 3 overall in terms of ownership on DraftKings tonight. Player as well, contributes a little bit in every category as a result. You're going to see him pop up in lineups. To me, I think he's the kind of player that you're willing to get in some lineups, especially ones that are less chalky. If you are in a chalky lineup, you're playing him. The ceiling's probably not there that much. He's got a 17% usage rate on the year, 10% rebound rate, 16% assist rate. And I actually should have led with this in the video. The 3 things that I think matter the most in fantasy sports, number 1, your fantasy points per minute, obviously your salary and all of that. We're going to talk about that stuff. In terms of just evaluating basketball players, and it's part of why I set up my data sheet like this for you guys on screen here, is the only things that really matter for a game, the player's usage or expected usage, their rebound rate and expected rebound rate, their expected assist rate, and how they shoot overall is an important thing I think to keep an eye on. Basically, if a player is a high usage player who shoots over 60% true shooting, that to me is a player that you can bank on pretty reliably. For everything else here, these are the stats that you update where, let's say for the Pacers tonight, if Pascal Siakam were out, you would then look at the rate data. I would use NBA Wowie for that, or add more funds as one that owns NBA Wowie now. Basically, what you would do is you would look at the rate data for times where Pascal Siakam's off the floor, Tyrese Halliburton's on the floor, and you see how that affects everything. And particularly for the key players like a Siakam, like a Halliburton, even like a Miles Turner, their presence opens up other things for other guys on the floor. So it opens up the minutes naturally, but it also opens up that, hey, this guy is this kind of player. Maybe he shoots 10% more. Maybe he rebounds 10% more, whatever the case may be. That's sort of how I view this stuff. So just a kind of separate part of things here. But this is like, to me, if you're going to have only these stats, you could still build a credible DFS slate, still have DFS lineups. Like you still know what's going to happen in a slate, but just knowing these numbers that we have on the screen here. Back to the ownership, though. Dyson Daniels, he's been hitting a few more spots lately. Still a player, not the highest usage. I don't think he's actually over 20% on the year. Dyson Daniels is 17% usage, 14% assist rate. Feels like he's been playing over his head a little bit, scoring 0.99 fantasy points per minute or DK points per minute. So for Dyson Daniels, I think you'll get him in lineups a good amount. I got him in about 30%, but I don't really want to get above the field on him because I just don't think he's got the upside people are going to think he has. He's had a few outlier games to start the year. And granted, more usage to go around here. That certainly is going to help him out. Larry Nance, we talked about 24% ownership for him, minimum salary, dual position eligibility. That's going to do that. So these are sort of the core parts of the slate right now. And I will go through my data sheet. And under low owned guys, I guess we can look at real fast too. Guys under 10%, Tyler Hero's on the cusp. Zach LaFine, Zachary Rizashe for Atlanta. I hope that's how you pronounce his name because I swear I feel like I've heard people say Rizasher. I don't know if that's correct. I feel like Rizashe. That's a French flair. Daniel Gafford, Fred VanVleet, Aaron Gordon, Stephon Castle, backup for the Spurs, been playing pretty well to start the year. RJ Barrett, if he gets in today, still questionable. See if he goes. If he doesn't go, Toronto even more likely to get blown out versus Denver. Even if he does go, still pretty likely to get blown out, unfortunately, for my poor boy Scotty Barnes. That team is not ready to hang in against anybody, it feels like, if they have anybody out. Russell Westbrook, Jakob Poeltl, Tim Hardaway. Nothing too exciting down here. Vucevic, I do like as a low-owned center play. I would certainly prefer if you could afford to get to Jokic. Vucevic, for me, projects a little bit better than he does for Stokastic, so I would like him. Wembanyama, being this low-owned with the ceiling that he has, and I worry a little bit about him not having the ball quite as much as some of the guys they brought in this year. But Wemby, at this price tag, I think looks okay in terms of having that ceiling potentially. Paulo Banchero, Nikola Jovic, I think a decent value play at 4,400. Some of your guys down here. Bam Adebayo, really low-owned. It's basically that. Let's see. All right, let's go to my data sheet. Let's see what we can do with this. So I'm going to quickly skim through here. Of course, at 5 o'clock, I'll be going game by game with Josh Shangelman on the Stokastic YouTube channel. So I'll try not to burn my opinions too much on both sides here. We can kind of quickly skim through here game by game. Then we'll run some sims. We'll do the lineup builder. We'll see how it goes. Indiana today, 108.8 implied points. Orlando, 115.8. In this game, nothing stands out too much. You can see my value metrics here basically relative to my projection. This is my projection on the screen. And the way I build my projection, basically use data from Basketball Reference. I use minutes from Stokastic, put those two things together, basically reflecting on players per 100 possession performance. And I'd use that balanced out against the Vegas total. So I built my own projections for the last, before COVID, I guess would be like the last 5 years. And had my biggest success in 2021. So what bought me the house, using all entirely my projections, but having Stokastic's minutes is a big part of the equation. Minutes, almost as valuable as creating the projections themselves. And projections are valuable too, but really you don't have to make your own. It's just using ones that aren't used by everybody else is one part that helps things out. I know some of the underdog successful players on there, they have their own projections that they know are not quite as good, but because they're unique to them, they feel like you get better results. So I think the same principle would apply for everything NBA DFS wise. The top values here, really would say nobody in Indiana looks that good. Tyrese Halliburton, too. The usage for him, not great to start the year. 17% assist rate. He's not rebounding as well. My issue with Tyrese Halliburton really kind of started to crop up last year when Siakam joined the team. His assist rate fell off a cliff. His usage went down lower. He basically needs guys, especially like Siakam, but also Mathurin, too. These guys take enough usage away from him that he just kind of becomes a secondary player sometimes. And obviously still the lead ball handler for the most part, but projections right now don't look that good for him, and I really think it'd be hard to play him in most formats. Total's pretty low for Indiana as well, playing against Orlando. Pretty good defense. I got Robert for the turd here. Appreciate seeing you here. Appreciate seeing all the regulars coming over. Of course, it's going to be a slow build here on Splash Play. So really, if you have the time, even if you don't really want to watch the stream, put it on your laptop and leave it on mute. I don't really want to advocate for that, but building a new YouTube channel from the ground up is hard, and it didn't make sense to me to do it on the Football Forward channel. So new Splash Play NBA channel, please make sure, subscribe, hit the like button and all of that, because I'll be doing these videos now every day at 4 p.m. So I'm committed. I'm locked in. It's happening. And I'm being, in partnership with Stokastic and Unabated. So check them both out. Stokastic here and Unabated up here. There we go. Two plugs there. $30 off at Unabated. Check that out. All right, back to these numbers on here. I guess I don't have to give up any of these plugs on my I'm looking at my sheet. Orlando side, big Franz Wagner looks pretty good. He's also been shooting the lights out to start the year. So that's one of the things you care about, players starting hot. I normally don't care about that very much, but for what it's worth right now, he's been shooting high usage, 29% usage rate, 67% true shooting for him as well. So the numbers look pretty good for Franz to start the year. And I feel like at that price tag, he's got a little room to exceed it in terms of scoring. Paulo Banchero, though, the dominant usage player here. Good projection on him, but not one that for me would be as good as Stokastic's. Rest of these guys here, Jalen Suggs, also shooting very well to start the year. 67% true shooting would be towards the higher end of the league overall. Shout out Alvin, appreciate that. Let's make this money. Yeah, let's hope. Look, NBA, I think, as much as I love NFL, if you want to have a shot to make money slate to slate, I would say it's better for NBA. Obviously, as a result, though, easier for every player to have put in better lineups, I think, than it is for NFL sometimes. For NBA, though, I think, in terms of just following projections, following minutes data, knowing who a backup is, those kind of things, probably the best things you can do for yourself overall. And, of course, the totals, all those things we talk about here. And Magic-wise, though, Jalen Suggs playable. I think Wendell Carter playable. Franz Wagner playable. Everything else, I think, would be a stay away for the most part. Low total game. Washington, Atlanta is an interesting one. So Atlanta's still an 8-point favorite. Let me see if that's held up, because I might have pulled my lines a few hours ago before some of the stuff has moved around. No, Atlanta is still a 7-point favorite. So have them as an 8-point favorite here. 7-point favorite still right now. Basically, because of the fact, like, they're on a back-to-back, played a lot of minutes for a lot of guys yesterday. As a result, though, of playing Washington, I think they end up looking like better players than they might normally look in a back-to-back. You can see the high total here, 120.3 implied total based on the Vegas numbers. So this game, one of the most important ones of the slate, as we talked about. You got Capella chalk. You have some chalk potentially for Larry Nance, though. You want to see him be rolled in and also have some idea he's going to play minutes. Dyson Daniels chalk. You can see all the ownership over here. It's going to be a very chalky game, so an important one. People are going to be playing these guys as well with Bilal Coulibaly. I would say playing Jordan Poole if you want to play the hot hand right now. Starting here with 73% true shooting. So shooting his mind out relative to a guy like Jordan Poole, who just kind of gets there usually by brute forcing usage. He's actually been having less usage, but shooting better. Assisting on a 31% clip as well. So taking some more point guard duties on for himself so far this year. And I think that could be something that plays well if you're looking for somebody to kind of have a reason that Washington and Atlanta both go head to head. I think trying to force Wizard in tonight would be a pretty good move. NBA more predictable, better reps to build skills. I think that's fair. A lot more slates for sure. Helps out a bunch. On the Atlanta side, I think in terms of these players, hard to sort of parse out who you really want to go to the most. Would say that $3K salary in Nance, and just knowing what he is as a per-minute producer, has not played so far this year, which is why you have these numbers, but would expect him based on historical numbers to have 0.9-ish fantasy points per minute. Just as a pure backup against Washington as well, where there's going to be rebounds and pace to go around. I think Larry Nance to me is a pretty solid play tonight. Wish that you had a little more minutes on him. Wish you had a little more projection, but 19.8 minutes, kind of enough to get in there. Trying to force a Wizard in, me to Mrs. from the turn last night. I mean, look, you got to force some magic into your relationship somehow, and that could be wand. Just throw in some different references here. I don't want to finish it. Besides that, for Atlanta, though, I think really main thing, all these guys playable. Your Vic Krejci's of the world, maybe a little bit less so. Reza Shea, I think a little bit less so. The usage for him, he's never been a guy that puts up a lot of numbers, really, even internationally. So he's going to shoot better at some point, you would think, with 44% true shooting. But really the top five here: Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Clint Capella, and DeAndre Hunter. If he's out, is going to affect things more. I think then Reza Shea would get a little more appealing. You probably see more minutes for Krejci, Matthews, and all that. But Hunter, a key questionable right now that we don't know about yet. Milwaukee and Boston. For the Milwaukee side, Giannis pretty much in play on every slate. That's the case again. A little bit of lower price tag than guys like Jokic and Luka. So they get his price tag. He works fairly well. They do have him a little bit less projected than Stokastic, but 0.3 is not that big of a difference. And also, numbers looking good for him on the year. Usage staying good. Assist rate staying good. Giannis, probably the most reliable player in the league. The issue is trying to get him to hit that true ceiling. Maybe he does it against Boston, but, not the highest total game. So hard to really love Giannis in terms of that component of things. That's why he's only going to be 3% owned. Damian Lillard, really don't like him here with the guys they could throw in him on defense. So obviously with Derek White and also Drew Holiday back there, but also just the salary a little bit too high. Projection, I don't get it. Usage has been good for him to start the year. He's playing fairly well, but I don't think it's enough to get there at a $9,300 price tag. Everything else here, I think you could pass over. Not worth talking about. Jason Tatum looks good for me on this side. So Jason Tatum, Trae Young, to me, one of the two best plays on the slate relative to that ceiling. I do like Jokic a lot as well. Really wish there were a way to play the three expensive guys, but unfortunately, it's not how that usually works on DraftKings. But Tatum, I think, paying down a little bit less from your Jokic's, that tier, the Luka tier of guys, Giannis as well. Tatum as well in this kind of game, one we expect to be competitive to the finish line. So Tatum, you get 4 quarters of work. That helps him out a little bit. I've got him projected 0.1 away from Stokastic. Both of these about 51.7, 51.8. So I think Tatum right now looking pretty good. Starting the year shooting really hot, 69% true shooting. It's probably going to level out to a low to mid 60s at some point. But Tatum looks good in the spot, I think. So Tatum, I think Trae Young, two guys you can go to under 10K that feel like they have the similar ceiling to like the superstar players tonight. Especially with Jokic too, being a game where it's like, hard to imagine that game being fully competitive until the end of the fourth quarter. It can happen, not the most likely. Everything else on Boston, hard to love. Jaylen Brown's been shooting a lot to start the year, but I don't think it's a guy I really want to go to. I didn't adjust his usage rate to reflect what he's been doing so far this year because I think that comes down a little bit. But Jaylen Brown looks okay right now. And again, 4:30 coming up, guys. It's 4:20 right now, so hey, I had to spark one up. But also at 4:30, we're going to check out the unabated market projections as well, or the unabated, rather, conditional projections is what they're calling it. So I got to learn how to market it better. But basically, what unabated does, led by Justin Fan, the former Underdog guy, as well as Fantasy Labs. He's the one who created all the alerts you see on Twitter, and now he's doing it unabated along with a team of projections guys over there. And basically, what they do is like, they work on their projections all day. They release them at 4:30 to give their users, their customers at Unabated, the best shot at beating prop markets. And then they also release 2 sets of projections as well, where like let's say earlier last week, you had DeJounte Murray and Zion Williamson questionable. Basically, what they'll do is create two sets of projections, one that assumes DeJounte Murray's in and one that assumes that he's out. And then they'll also create one that assumes Zion Williams is in, one that assumes he's out. And basically, what you could do is you could look at the prop lines for Murray, for Zion, try to play those markets. Again, those guys get voided if they didn't play. Or you could take them out and just try to make the bets based on what would be a really inefficient line for a game where there's, two of the star Pelicans players not in there. So it's a really cool product. Check it out, Unabated. You get $30 off the promo code SPLASH at Unabated. So check the link in the description, and that'll also give affiliate credit here, which is what we're striving for, because Unabated is paying some money for the channel, of course. Detroit 105.5, Miami also 114 on their end. Not the best projected game overall. I think that Cade Cunningham appeals to me in terms of the upside. You can see start the year 35% usage rate, 40% assist rate, not shooting terribly well, but dominating the ball more, which is really what we want to see from any of these players overall. Ownership under 2%, that stands out to me. Tobias Harris, more of a projection play here. He's fine to $6,100 salary. I don't expect a lot of upside for him, but he's also shooting really poorly to start the year. At a certain point, Water finds his depth and he'll get back to where he is normally. So Tobias, an okay play. Think the game kind of comes down to Cade, though. I always like Jalen Duren a little bit, but I think I'm going to get less than this year. His usage has been down as well, having guys like Tobias Harris in the mix. So Detroit, not the most appealing team to me besides the tournament upside for Cade and maybe some Tobias you get as a projection play. Miami side, not a lot to love here. I think the game could be competitive, so a tournament shot on Jimmy Butler would not be the craziest thing to me at that price tag, but his usage is down enough in a lineup where you have Hero, you have Terry Rozier, you obviously have Bam Adebayo as well. You can see all these guys splitting usage pretty evenly overall. There's nobody here you want to really trust tonight, but for a tournament play, this guy under, Jimmy Butler being under 2%, I kind of see the upside for him, but I feel like that's mostly me looking at historical Jimmy Butler, and also he's got a really cool wine cellar in his house, which I saw a video on Twitter once. Really impressed by it, so that stuck with me about Jimmy Butler. Besides that, Nikola Jovic, a value play. Everything else here could be skipped. Cleveland, nothing to love here. Nobody projected for 5x value. The game could be competitive. Donovan Mitchell getting there, I think, would not be the craziest thing. He's got pretty good projections on him. Good minutes for these guys as well. Mobley's usage has been up a little bit, 25% usage for him to start the year. It kind of feels to me like Mitchell or bust here, and he's really not a great projection play. It's more of an upside play if New York kind of pulls their weight. New York side, though, really well projected. All these guys look good to me. Concentrated minutes as well. All these guys projected for 34 to 37 minutes between Brunson, Towns, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and Anunoby. Josh Hart, I believe, is the one I got the most of the sim before this, but these guys looking okay. And Knicks, really, all of them playable, I think, for the most part up top. Does Rachel Nichols like wine? I hope so. I hope so for Jimmy's sake. Denver, 115. Honestly, I probably need to pace this better. Let's just go to the Sims at this point. You kind of get the idea here. Denver, bunch of guys you could like here. We talked about Murray being chalk. Nikola Jokic, the pivot works. This is also going to be a game where Murray and Jokic put up points early and don't see the court after the third quarter. So that's something to keep in mind here as well, given that really high 9-point total on the road. And Toronto as well. Barnes and Barrett, I think if you're playing Nuggets, really should consider Barnes, really should consider Barrett. Maybe you should consider Grady Dick a little bit more, who disappointed a lot of people over the weekend as chalk. I think trying to play something from Toronto if you're going to play a Denver player would be a pretty logical move today. Let's go over to the Sims, see what they have for us before we have to go over and check Unabated at 4:30 on the dot. Let me share this tab, and let's see what we can build here contest-wise. Going to build 5,000 lamps for NBA, not 10,000. And, of course, those 5,000 lamps, though, will compete 10,000 times. So, Stokastic Sims product you guys know by now. And we'll see a different version of the Sims with Unabated in a moment, too. So, two really cool products. Glad to be working with both of them this year. Of course, we'll be on Stokastic's Deeper Dive stream with Josh Engelman after this one as well. And, of course, these streams coming up every day at 4 p.m. So, if you're watching, just tuning in, happen to stumble across this, because I don't know how you would, because I don't think the YouTube algorithm is going to be cool in the beginning. But please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Your support goes a long way for these nascent times here. A new channel. Started with probably, but I didn't leave with my best foot forward because I did all of the stuff pre-recorded. So here we're going live again. Let's simulate these lineups out. I think we still have my custom projections in. We might not, though. No, I think there's Stokastics. So we're going to use Stokastics projections for this part. Tournament today is, I believe, 33% to first. Let's go with that. Let's see what we get in a sim. McBride is interesting if Hart can't go. Yeah, McBride definitely can fill it up. He doesn't really do the same things that Josh Hart does. The rebounding's not there. The assisting's not quite there as much. But as we saw, what was it? Opening night, he got hot and filled out as chalk, filled out pretty fast with just how much he was scoring. So a little more usage for him. Him being with the first unit, though, if he got chalky, I probably wouldn't want to go there. I feel like that's one of the bigger fallacies in DFS overall is like a player moves in the starting lineup, people play that guy too much, not recognizing the fact, like we talked about with the rate data, the usage just gets a lot lower because you're around, then Jalen Brunson, Towns, even Mikal Bridges at this point also shooting enough. Because those guys are all shooting enough, like McBride just doesn't become the same player. But with how the Knicks play guys, like he would get so many minutes that he would project really well no matter what. All right, 4 minutes left. We go to unabated. So I'll pace this better. Maybe I just won't look at my sheet. I just wanted to make a sheet to show the data I look at, but what are we going to do? Trying different stuff here. It's a brand new channel. Give me feedback in the comments too, please, if you can. VIP Discord as well. Not connected yet to this channel, but when we get to the subscriber thresholds, we'll connect it all together. Your top ROI lineups right now, according to Stokastic. We've got Jalen Suggs, Jaden Ivey, Franz Wagner, Jason Tatum, Larry Nance Jr., Kyrie, Jeremy Sohan, Derek Lively. So no superstar players put in. They took the cheap guys like Jason, or the cheaper stars rather, like Jason Tatum. So that's interesting to see, but not paying up for Jokic, not paying up for Luka, not paying up for Wemby. Just getting Jason Tatum instead. Number 2 ROI lineup is Jalen Suggs, Christian Brown, Jason Tatum, Larry Nance, Clint Capella. So you are getting both centers in here for Steven asking earlier. I think that's a tough play, but I guess the prices are low enough that they can make it according to a sim. Jamal Murray, Reza Shea, and Wembanyama here. Jalen Suggs, Bilal Coulibaly, Josh Hart, Paolo Banchero, Larry Nance Jr., Klay Thompson, DeAndre Hunter, again, a key player to watch out for the questionable status. Wemby, that's number 3. Jalen Suggs, Dyson Daniels, Franz Wagner, Larry Nance, Clint Capella, Jordan Poole, and Jordan Poole shooting the lights out at the start of the year. Jason Tatum, Jakob Poeltl's number 4. Number 5 is Jalen Suggs, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jason Tatum, Nance, Jokic, Coulibaly, Reza Shea, and Kyle Kuzma. So a little bit of a bring back. I'm surprised not getting any Trae Young, but I guess Jalen Suggs' a value opens things up enough. Of course, across the top 150 lineups here's what you're getting. You're getting Larry Nance Jr., top ROI player overall, 75% exposure for him. You're sorting by ROI. Isaiah Jackson is a high ROI, but you're only getting 7% exposure to him as the backup for Indiana. I don't think that's a really valid play, but coming up a little bit. I love seeing Klay in lineup 3. Klay's going to have a lot of days where he shoots and gets easy shots going. So this match begins going for Dallas today. Going against Utah. I mean, Utah does give up a really high field goal percentage on threes. Gives up 48% from the field, 39% from 3. So Klay can get going and put up the points. The issue is not going to give you much peripherally, but I think the projection looks okay for Klay and certainly determined upsides there. Other high ROI players, Jalen Suggs, as you might have guessed by him being all the top lineups. Wembanyama, 6% ROI from Stokastic. Dyson Daniels, 4%. Sohan, 4%. Franz Wagner, 3%. Overall exposure-wise, you're getting the most Larry Nance, 75% of him, 57% of Dyson Daniels, who again is getting decent work relative to a guard who doesn't have a lot of talent. Jeremy Sohan, 43, Clint Capella, 42, DeAndre Hunter, 39, of course, assuming he plays. Jalen Suggs at 37, Coulibaly, 36, Jalen Brunson, 35. So Nikola Jokic still getting double the field on him. Even though Jokic's not in the top ROI lineup, Sims do think he's worth playing, so that looks pretty good. Let's see. I'm going to keep the unabated one open because their projection is going to drop any minute now. I'm not sure if they're in yet. Doesn't look like they are. Getting so much Denver, it's uncomfortable. I mean, look, Denver is one of the best plays in the slate. The big part, though, is like they can get there by just putting up a lot of points, but you have to be mindful about telling yourself the story for basketball, which is generally the nice thing about NBA is like it's just so projection based. You don't have to worry about telling yourself a story and all of that. But I would say, like, for those kind of games where there's an obvious path to a blowout, it's like, how does this blowout happen then if you're going to not play a Raptor on the way back? So Michael Porter Jr. knocking down a bunch of threes, like him heating up. I think Jamal Murray heating up, scoring a lot of points. Jokic, I feel like it's hard for him to hit the true ceiling because he's going to have less time in the court to rack up rebounds and assists. So for a guy like him, I think I'd almost want to play on the way back. I'd want to play a Barnes. I'd want to play, obviously can't play quickly tonight. I'd want to play Barrett if he goes, because like those guys having an outlier day is basically the only way that Jokic sees the court for the entire time period. All right, let's go over to unabated and let's hope that their projections are loaded in here. I'll show you guys, if nothing else, I'll show you guys a prop screen here, which I do think is a really cool tool. And again, the big sales pitch for unabated, which I will give you guys again. It's a really great projection team working there. They're also making projections more so for the bettors out there. They're not making for DFS players quite as much. So while I think this would be a great set of projections to use for, for a DFS slate, and they are apparently going to have it so you can download the projection soon. Using them for betting, using them for your prize picks and underdogs being the best thing to do. So check it out. $30 off at Unabated right now. Check the link in the description to take advantage of that. And of course, good deals on there. You basically be getting all their tools for under $100 with that deal that you get. I think their props tool would also be $50 flat. So that's good. But with the projections, it's I think 120 with $30 off. And you can also see the conditional stuff they could do as well. Today, actually, they do have a bunch of conditionals. So we could see these, but let's look at the core ones first to start. But basically, this is how the conditional projection stuff at Unabated works as well, where you would rule in RJ Barrett, you could rule him out, and it'll adjust the numbers accordingly. But let's just do it normally first. So let's simulate some of the top bets here. We're just look at some of the core categories. If you want to get all of them, go to Unabated, check it out yourself. We'll look at the points, rebounds, and assist categories and see what stands out the most. In particular, vis-a-vis prize picks and underdog. And it's simulating out right now. See some of the lineups populating down there. But a really cool tool. Again, like we talk about Sims a lot on this channel. Also, I fucking didn't put up the basketball thing. I'm such an idiot. I've got the fucking football logo up. It's an NBA channel. This buffoon. Anyway, let's see what our best lines are right now. So basically what you're seeing here right now on the screen, you're seeing the projections from the team led by Justin Fan and what they're doing. And you're also seeing now the simulated best line. So basically what you're getting here is the EV calculation, similar to what a lot of other tools out there. What I do with probably the same thing where basically it's reflecting on the hit rate, how much of a projection wins relative to the standard deviation off of the projections made by Unabated's team. So a very cool tool to see here. You can see some pretty big edge. Over 10.5 on DK's pick 6 is what this is. Basically, the over 10.5 line, if you can get that, looks pretty good. 14% EV on that. Right now, underdog, that's a negative EV one. Probably don't want to do that one. This one on prize picks, 11% edge, under 9 points for Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr, certainly a player we don't expect to get a lot going. Kyle Kuzma, you get some edge on pick 6, under 22.5 points if you can get that. Under 21.5 less edge, but a 9% edge if you do get it, under 22.5 and minus 112 odds. So the ones that you could see here, Tobias Harris. Again, we talked about the potentially looking like an okay DFS play. Right now, he's got a 14.1 point projection from Unabated, and his best value looks like under 14.5 with a 6.6% edge. And basically, if you're using Unabated's tool, it's kind of the same principle as any EV calculation. 2% differential is going to be the thing you're looking for. So anything over 2% is going to get you out of the potential margin for error. So whether that be the Sims, whether it be their market projections they use, that's some of the core stuff you're going to see here. Really? Come on. First day promoting Unabated. You can't give me that. Tyrese Halliburton, the under on him looks pretty good. 5.9% edge, under 16.5. Terry Rozier, the over actually looks pretty good. They've got a projected for 17.1. Where am I on Rozier? Rozier, I've got about 17 flat. All right. So Rozier, 17.1 point projection against Detroit, 5.5% EV. It looks like it's good for your pick'ems as well. So again, this is the only time you're going to see this for free, guys. Unabated was actually very protective about wanting to show stuff here, but every day I'll show you guys a little bit, give you a taste here. And these are some of the best bets you can find right now, sorted by the theoretical most EV we have. Let's go over to rebounds. Do the same thing over here. And again, it's so fast too. The Sims, that was the thing that stood out the most to me when I was talking to these guys. Where if you're gonna run a sim, obviously the ones with Stokastic's data, you want that to be a thing where you're simming 10,000 lines. It's gonna take a minute. For this though, to be getting this many markets simulated out this quickly and be able to see the EV immediately, you can really transact on lines quickly too. So really high EV. If you wanted to build a prize picks card, you could build it entirely off of rebounds props. It looks like honestly same thing for underdog as well. But you got. Right now, value on the over 8.6 rebounds, the projection from Unabated's projection team, but 25.9% EV on over 7 on prize picks. So you get an over 7 somewhere, be good to take it. And also you can see some other books. Let me see if I can just scroll a little bit to the right. My scroll bar is not easily accessible, which sounds stupid. But I swear there's a logical reason for it. You can see here we have DraftKings and FanDuel as well. So it is plus EV right now, over 7.5 at DraftKings, 14.9% EV. FanDuel as well, 18% EV. So there's value in the primary books as well, even though I'm not showing them spelled out quite as clearly as we are the pick'em sites right now. Don't need to pull up all my look, it's a new channel. I got to pull up chats. So it makes it look lively here instead of just the ghost town of me rambling to myself. We got Luka Doncic value on the under for rebounds for him, 8.4 rebounds, the projection by the Unabated projections team. It's a 24.9% EV. So really high sim EVs here. And generally, look, sim EVs less valuable than market data EVs sometimes. But with Unabated's data right now being so fresh, like you're getting a lot of edges with some of these early lines. And when the projections come out, especially the value you're getting on some of the stuff is like, it's crazy you're going to get. And I think honestly, it probably goes away over the course of times where people get on there. But Walker Kessler, 9.6 rebounds, 22.5% EV for him relative to the prize picks line of over 8. Bilal Coulibaly, 5.1 rebounds, some value on the under for him. Again, a player that doesn't do a whole lot on the court. 13.6% EV for under 5.5. PJ Washington, 5.4 rebounds. You're getting 5.7% EV on under 5.5 rebounds for him. So some of the bets you could take here, some of these actually on the sports books, along with some of them on the pick 'em apps. Orange DK crown means the pick 6-1. So different lines here. The DraftKings Sportsbook, which is the green one. Check out assists real fast. See what you can do. And frankly, you can just play with the tool a little bit more. That's pause. But could play with the tool a little bit more here to show some different numbers if we wanted. Let's see what we're getting sim-wise here. All right, so our best values. Looks like value on the over for assists on Lauri Markkanen. Over 1.5, you can get that line. He's got a 2.4 projection. It represents a 28.2% EV for Lauri Markkanen over 2.5 or 2.4 assists or higher, depending on the platform you're on. This platform, Underdog, higher, over 1.5. Luka Doncic, 8.8 assists. Getting some value on the under. Under on 9.5. At DraftKings Sportsbook is the best line right now, this limited smattering. Of course, you could add more in with Unabated's actual product. 5.5% EV for Luka Doncic, under 9.5 in terms of the assists right now. Klay Thompson, we know he's not going to pass the ball too much. He's got a 1.9 assist projection. Value 4.4% EV on over 1.5 assists right now for Klay Thompson. Kyrie Irving, value on the under. Interesting to see. Not a lot of value, though. Probably wouldn't take that bet relative to the 2% EV. Wouldn't have noticed that if you didn't say pause. I mean, look, sometimes I know the second it comes out of my mouth. The worst was on Stokastic last week where I just reeled off 3 in a row completely unintentionally. And then I reeled off a 4th and a 5th just because I was make it seem like I was in on the bit. But really, doled out some pauses on myself. Let's look at the DFS Pick'em stuff. Let's look at this real fast. I think another cool tool you can see here. We could go specific to a site as well. We saw a lot of good bets on prize picks, a lot of good markets. Let's see what's on Underdog. And hey, let's plug Underdog too. Let's get some basketball dollars for my Underdog promo code. Promo code SPLASH with $1,000 in bonus cash if you want to check that out. But let's get 100% unabated projections here. Let's see what we get edgewise. You could also flatten it out a little bit if you want to take 10% of the market-based projections, which are a different product. Basically, they have projections based off of what the markets, especially the highest dollar market maker markets, basically they're looking at for their projections. Or you just use the ones that are straight away the projections created by their teams. So choose your fighter and all that, but we'll choose just the regular projections created by the team today. Lindquist recommended the under on Klay assists for pick 6 at 1.5. For it's worth. There you go. Hey, if Eric Lindquist and Unabated agree, something good's coming. Let's see what we're getting here. Select 2+ players to start. I don't know what it's doing here. Usually this works pretty cleanly. But sometimes, you try out a new product on a stream. Let's refresh. All right, Underdog Fantasy. We got our unabated projections. Hopefully this time it'll come in clean. It's possible I did something wrong. Let's never rule that out. Okay, there we go. That's usually how it works. Really blew my mind there. So if you're building an Underdog card right now, Isaiah Stewart, the lower on rebounds, 4.5 line, they've got a 3.6 projection, 30% edge. Peyton Pritchard, lower, 3-pointers made, projection of 2. Underdog's got it at 2.5, 25% edge. Lonzo Ball, lower on rebounds and assists, 4.6 projection. 5.5 is the line right now in Underdog, 24.7% edge. Lauri Markkanen, higher on assists, 2.4 is the projection. 1.5 is the Underdog line right now. A 24% edge on the higher for assists for Lauri Markkanen. And higher on PRAs, points, rebounds, and assists for Terry Rozier. 27% there, 23.5 is the current line in Underdog, and it's 21% edge. So you can see here, again, I'm not going to always show you all the ones on here. There's a lot of theoretical edge for all these lines based on the unabated projections. So you can mix and match them if you want. Just take the highest ones. A lot of good stuff. a first stream, it's required to not go clean. That's true. I did. Sometimes you're just asking for it or something's got to go wrong, and hopefully it's not me. What else to point out here? I think we've covered everything pretty well. Again, the Unabated tool, give them the really big plug here. Really, if you want to see this content continue on this channel, go check out Unabated. $30 off Unabated right now. They're Unabated NBA. You get the projections along with the tools that I showed you on stream here. I think that would basically make it, like $90 a month for that. So good deals at Unabated. Just make sure I don't want to misquote here. I would have to log it incognito. Oh my God, my quest for accuracy, always so brilliant. All right, Unabated pricing. Let's see. So you would get $30 off. So it'd be $95 right now if you use promo code SPLASH and Unabated. So it's a good deal. If you want to get all their stuff, it'd be $102. And again, really great products here. Conditional projections come with both these products. Game day live streams you get as well with Tom Viola, who's a good guy I've talked to recently. Lots of cool stuff at Unabated. So really going to be part of the process here every day moving forward. Can't encourage you enough to check it out. Of course, lots more coming up for me. And here's my sheet one more time. Anything else? It's going to be like about a 45-minute video every day, guys. So prepare for that. Stay tuned. But more to come here. So shout out to our presenting sponsors here, Unabated and Stokastic. Please do check them out. I'm trying to like close things at the same time. Here we go. All right. Unabated. Go ahead. Go get $30 off at Unabated right now. Promo code SPLASH on there. It's a great tool. Again, really, for me, was having created probably as well as having used enough products in the space now. I do come with a really critical eye for this stuff. The Unabated tool really gave me everything I expected. I also did play some bets and had pretty good results with it from a few days of that. So make sure to check it out Unabated right now. $30 off using promo code SPLASH. Link in the description as well. Of course, please do subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. Your engagements go a long way for me here. It's a tough time here because I'm going live and basically the content's not really evergreen for that long. So live viewers are the goal here. I'll be going live every day at 4 p.m. here for the NBA season. So that's what's happening every day at 4 p.m. So please subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. And again, I'm showing you everything, honestly, like I do. Same thing for NFL. Showing you what the process looks like, what the tools look like, and what they're giving me, along with, in this case, my own projections, which I'll show you guys too. Stokastic, 15% off their tools as well. Link in the description, promo code SPLASH on that. And hey, shout out to you for hanging out here. I didn't redo the graphics, the exit graphics. It's still going to have a football, but pretend it's got a basketball on it. I swear I'll remember. This is a basketball channel now. But thank you for joining me on this maiden voyage here. I love basketball. It's a sport I care a lot about. That's why I've had the little reserve sign by the basketball for a few years. And now it's not reserved anymore. I'm doing it. So Splash Play NBA, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Come back and hang with me. Appreciate you guys being here. I'll see you guys again soon. And check me out in the deeper dive on Stokastic coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern today. So enjoyed hanging out with you. See you soon. Bye-bye.